Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Derek and today I'm going to be doing my 1-year comprehensive review on the RD-2000 made by Roland. This is the flagship stage piano that Roland offers, and I've had this for over a year now, and I've used it in a variety of settings, whether it be at home in the studio or out and about doing gigs or at rehearsals and what have you. And so I just want to let you guys know what I think about the board 1 year later. Now, I do want to say this right off the bat that this is going to be more of a talking video and less of a playing video. So if you just want to hear the sound of the RD-2000, yes, there will be some playing in the video, but that is not the primary aim of this video. The primary aim of this video is to give information and to give my thoughts about the board. Now, if you do like in-depth walkthroughs, tutorials, reviews, overviews of musical equipment like this, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell notification icon because I'm always uploading new stuff. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and flip the board around so you can see the back of the board, and let's talk about the connections that it has on the back. All right, so now I have the board turned around, and here's the rear panel of the RD-2000, and the first jack here is just a regular standard headphone jack, quarter-inch jack, and then it has two sets of main output jacks or main outs. It's going to have your XLR jacks, like having those, very convenient. Don't need a direct box of any kind. And then it has another set here of unbalanced output quarter-inch jacks. And then you have two additional assignable outputs here as well that are quarter-inch jacks as well. And then you have your input there, and that's used for like connecting your cell phone or an MP3 player or something like that. I use this when I am rehearsing for my band, oftentimes when I'm trying to listen to parts and stuff like that. It's convenient to just plug my cell phone in here and listen to the music on Spotify and learn the parts and stuff with my headphone jack, and I can just listen to the music and play along and make sure I'm getting the parts and stuff right. Then you have all of your pedal inputs here. You got your damper, and you got a FC1, a FC2, and this other one here, EXT, and these three here are definitely assignable. And if you do have a pedal setup where you like to use 3 pedals because you're more of a traditional pianist, this does support that functionality as well. Then you have your MIDI in, your MIDI out, and a MIDI out and through right here. And so I like having an additional MIDI out as well that just extends your connectivity when connecting other hardware equipment to this keyboard. And then you have your USB output to your computer, and this functions. It sends both MIDI and audio when you are using this jack here, MIDI and audio. So this is essentially a an audio interface, and so you don't need an audio interface when you're plugging a computer in, so you can play your VSTs and stuff like that and route that audio through this keyboard without needing an additional audio interface on stage. It simplifies your setup. And then it just has your USB here, so you can connect, you can connect the flash drive and stuff to it. You can actually record music on that flash drive from the keyboard if you would like to. And also with this USB drive, if you plug in like a MIDI controller that is bus powered, it will indeed power your MIDI controller as well. So that's this side of the keyboard, and there's just a few more things down on the other side I'm going to show you. Let me just move the camera, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. And so just want to show you a few more things here. So you have a USB for update. This jack here is just for plugging in a USB to do updates to the board itself. So all of the firmware updates happen through this jack, not the other one that's down on the other side of the keyboard. And then you have your AC in right here, and no kind of wall wart or anything like that. So great plug-in here. Power supply is internal, and then you just have your on-off switch. Now let's go ahead and turn the keyboard around. Let's look at the front panel and talk about that. All right, so now we're looking at the front panel of the RD-2000 on the left side, and you have your joystick, which is a joystick that does pitch bend and modulation over there. And then you have 2 assignable mod wheels that actually light up. It's a nice touch there. And then you have all of your knobs here. This is kind of your effects section. This is where you can adjust your reverb, your delay, your cut off, resonance, attack, release, things of that nature, panned, all that kind of stuff. And they're also assignable. So your EQ settings and stuff like that, or any kind of anything that you basically assign to these knobs, they can do. They are encoders, and they do have the LED light ups here It lights up LED so you can see it in the dark. Also a nice touch. It has these buttons here for activating your effects sections, and so that's kind of this section of the keyboard. Now you also have your sliders here. It gives you 9 different sliders. 8 of these sliders are for your 8 different zones, and by a zone, basically think of a zone as a layer. So you can have a piano on in one zone, and then you can have maybe string, and then you can have pad, so you can put all your layers and stuff here. If your zone is lit up in red or orange, that means that this is playing the internal sounds that are inside of this keyboard itself. If it's lit up in green, that means it's going to be receiving some sort of a signal and playing something external. So I really love this setup. This makes it very easy. I can connect all of my gear and stuff to this keyboard and use this as a master keyboard. Works great when you're doing live stuff. I like the fact that these light up and it gives you the LED readings here, because when you are on stage, this makes a big difference. All you have to do is basically glance down and you know exactly where you're at. And if the stage is dark, this kind of stuff here is kind of hard to see. Like the actual sliders themselves can be a little hard to see. But when you can just read these LEDs, that really does help on stage. So they really did design this keyboard for the live player, someone who's playing live on stage. And so I like having those LED light ups, because it does make a difference when the stage is dark. And real quickly, let's just talk about this key bed, since we're just kind of looking at it. This is the PHA 50 key bed. It is a high quality key bed. It actually has escapement, so you can feel actually when the hammer lifts up when you're pressing a key. When the hammer will lift up off the string, and you can strike it again. So for people who are traditional pianists, you're probably going to like this key bed. This is a very good, high quality key bed. Love the key bed. Doesn't have aftertouch, but I don't think aftertouch is something I would even want on a keyboard like this. But different people like to have different things. Now let's just move down the keyboard and let's show you a little more. All right, so just moving down the keyboard a little bit here, what we have is we actually have our screen here, and I think the screen is adequate for a stage piano. I'm not looking for a big, huge screen on a stage piano, because I think that stage pianos need to be easy to use. You're doing a lot of live stuff. You don't really want to be doing a whole lot of looking at the screen. The screen works great for setting up your sounds, picking your sounds, setting up your zones, your scenes, and all that kind of stuff. And then when you're actually playing, you're not really focused on the screen that much, which is actually a good thing when performing live. You've got your buttons here for controlling various parameters in your screen. Then you have some directional buttons here. You got your decrease and increase buttons here. And then you have this kind of a metal rotary selector here, which is also great, good, high quality stuff. And then you have all of your buttons here that you can select your various sounds. And so it has various different categories. You have your concert acoustic pianos and your studio acoustic pianos. And then you have your vintage EPs and your modern EPs. Has a clav section, organ section, your strings, pad, choir, bass, and other. And some of the things are a little weird as far as the sounds are in different. They're actually found in different categories than you might think. I do wish that they had an actual synth section. The synth parameters, or the synth sounds, are actually found in the other. And I don't know why they chose to put synth sounds in other, but I do wish that it had its own specific button for synths, because that is something that people like to access all the time. But anyway, yeah, you got your buttons here. So you just select your sounds, and then so you could select the concert here, and when you turn this rotary, then you can actually go through various different types of pianos. And this does have 2 different sound engines. It has the V piano sound engine, which has an unlimited polyphony or full polyphony. Basically, you can lay on all the keys at the same time, and you won't get any kind of notes dropping out or anything like that. And then it has your supernatural sound engine, which is like your EPs and stuff like that. and this is 128 voice polyphony, and pretty much every other sound in the keyboard, if it's not the V piano sound engine where you're listening, where you're playing those acoustic pianos, then every other sound is going to be in the supernatural sound section, and that's going to give you 128 voice polyphony on that side. Okay, and then you have this button here, that's a one touch piano, and when you hit here, it basically just takes you home, takes you to the stage piano. And then you have your programs here. Your programs are basically like your combinations and whatnot. This is where you set up all of your different layers, and so you may have a piano and an EP and a pad and a string or something like that, all set up on various different channels. This is where you set up in your programs, and you can save your various programs and call them up at any time. And then you have your external expansion packs, as it does take, I believe, takes 2 external expansion packs that you download from the Axio website, and you can put them in this board and have additional sounds. You have scene utilities. Scene utilities is basically where you can save scenes. Basically, you can save the settings of the keyboard, and so if you have various different setups and stuff for that, you can save it as a scene, and then just select that scene. You can store 100 scenes in this board. You can just select that scene whenever you want to, and you don't have to do any kind of setup. So if you do your preparation and stuff at home or whatever before you go out to play, all you have to do is just really just hit one button, and you are set up and ready to go, no matter what your setup is. You have your tone designer button. That's where you adjust all of your tones. And for a stage piano, for a stage keyboard, this has a lot of tone editing capability. Compared to the Nord Stage 3 that I also have, this kind of blows it out of the water as far as your ability to edit various sounds and stuff like that. So lots of editing capability for a stage piano. It's not going to have as much as a Chord Kronos or a Yamaha Montage or something like that. Overall, the V piano sound engine does have a whole lot of things that you can edit, but overall, you're not going to be able to edit your sounds as deeply as a synthesizer or workstation. But for a stage piano, this gives you a lot of options. And then I like the fact that it has this key touch button here, and this is how you adjust whether you want your how you want your key bed to, or your key bed to respond to. You can set it up to be on medium or light or super light or heavy or super heavy. When it's on super heavy, you have to really hit very, very hard in order to get it to sound very loud. When it's on light, you don't have to hardly hit hard at all, and the velocity is going to be very loud. And so you can adjust it to your liking for how you play, or whatever specific instrument or song or whatever that you're playing. You can adjust that as well. And then it has your key range, which sets up your splits and stuff like that. Then it's got some just additional buttons here, like your right button, so you can save different things. Has rhythm and song. Basically, it does have some rhythm backing tracks in here, just some drum tracks that you can play along with. I wouldn't really recommend those for any kind of live use. If you were using those as like a drum track, they're not really that good, but just something that you can practice to besides a metronome. It works for that. And then you have your split button, so you can split your keyboard whenever you want to. Split it where you want to split it, transpose, hit them at the same time. Then you got play, stop, reset, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, now let's go ahead and take a look at this board. Let's take a look at its functionality, and let's listen to it and see how it actually works a little bit. All right, so I absolutely love the way the RD-2000 has its mini integration and how everything is set up. This first channel that you're hearing, this one here, this first channel is actually coming from my laptop. So this is being played, this is a VST coming from my laptop, and my laptop is not plugged into any kind of other audio interface. So it's literally coming out of the RD-2000. So gotta love that integration. And then the other channels that you were hearing here were just, they're actually internal sounds. So let's say a pad that's in the RD-2000, a soft pad, and the Jupiter strings. And I literally can just merge them together. And get some really lush sounds and stuff like that. So really the sky is the limit when it comes to this kind of thing. And it's really, really easy to set up your board to do this kind of a thing. So literally all I have to do, all these channels here, they're either going to be lit up in green or they're going to be lit up in red. So if it's lit up in red, that means it's an internal sound. If it's lit up in green, that means it's coming from an external source. In this case, it's coming from my laptop. Now, if I want to change it from external to internal or vice versa, all I have to do is just hit shift and hit the button. And now this has gone from an external to an internal. And so now that's the stage grand on the RD-2000. So now now everything that you're hearing is coming from the internal setup or the internal sounds of the RD-2000. So very nice integration here. Literally all you have to do is just hit a button, hold shift, hit a button, and it changes from internal to external, or vice versa. So that's really nice to have that set up that way. Let me just turn this all back to internal real quick. All right, so what I also like here is just how easy this truly is to use. And so let me just go to my one touch piano here. Let me turn off the external sounds. Now, if I wanted to layer some sounds together, it's actually very, very easy to do. I can do it very quickly. So let's say I want a piano and a string. I can just hold, because I have my various categories here. I know you can't see all of them on the camera, but I can just, let's say I can hold my piano here, and then I can hit my strings, and all of a sudden now I've got piano. Got a piano and a string. My piano's on channel number 1, and my string is on channel number 2. Right, now let's go to one touch piano. Let's say I wanted to do a piano, a string, and a pad. All I have to do is hit this piano button here, hold down the string, and hold down the pad. Now I've got a piano on channel number 1, a string on channel number 2, and a pad on channel number 3. All together. And the faders control their various volumes. So that's really, really nice. Now, if I wanted to actually change, let's say I necessarily didn't like the piano sound. all you have to do is select it with this button here. So these buttons here, they select what zone you're on. And so if I select this zone, select number 1, and then I just turn the knob, it starts to cycle through my various pianos that I have. And I can, you know, pick a different piano if I want to do. All right, so just choose a different piano there. If I wanted to change the sound of zone number 2, all I have to do is just select it like I just did there. And then when I turn this rotary knob here, now it's going to select different strings. So the first one was slow strings. The second one is full strings. Third one, GX strings, so various strings. And if you saw over here, the way I turn them on and off, turn the different zones on and off, is you just hit those buttons. So now none of the second row here, nothing is lit up except for this one here, but that's not an actual zone. It has the 8 zones. None of them are lit up, so you don't get any sound. So you hear some sound, I've got to turn the zone on. Now you got the piano. Turn this zone on. Now you got strings. Turn this zone on. Now you have strings and pads and piano. So very easy to begin to set up your layers and stuff like that for playing. And then if I wanted to bring in something something external, there it is. So I thought it was in channel number 6, but it's actually channel number 5. All right, so that's really nice there. And let's see here. Let's go to my one-touch piano. That's kind of like your home once again. And I'm just going to select the vintage EP. And so it's got a lot of different electric pianos to choose from. Now these are all in the Supernatural engine. So that's nice there. Do another one here. That's tremolo. Select another one here. So I really do, I really enjoy the EPs in this keyboard for sure. In fact, I think it's one of the highlights of this board actually is the electric pianos. If I turn this rotary knob here, then, you know, I get a list of them and I can go through and select, you know, maybe one that I want. And there's just so many different ones inside of this board. So I love the EPs in here, and then it's just a variety of different effects and stuff that you can. So love the effects, love these keyboards here. I'm gonna add a little modulation. And if I go into what's called Tone Designer, I can hit enter here, and then it has a whole bunch of different parameters and stuff that I can adjust. So with this Tone Designer, I get key off noise. I get the color of the tone. Let's see. So I get key off, mechanical key on noise, mechanical key off noise. So I can turn up the mechanical key on noise. So it's picked up there. If I turn it down, let's see. Turn it up. You can hear the sound. I can turn up the key off noise. You can hear it. Might let up off the key. Extra noise. And it's just a whole lot of different things. Key off resonance, hum noise, just various parameters and stuff that you can edit with that. Okay. Now if I go into my stage grand, this is just the default piano that comes up when you turn on the board. If I go into the Tone Designer on this one and go to piano tone, then you have your tone color. Then you can turn you get your lid. So you can put it up and put it down, or you can turn it all the way up. So you're just adjusting the height of the lid there. You got your string resonance that you can turn up and down, and damper resonance, hammer noise, duplex scale, key off resonance, cabinet resonance. Anyway, a whole bunch of different things that you can adjust with the V Piano sound engine. All right, let's get out of there. Or I can come in here to individual voicing and hit enter, and I can literally tune every single key the way I want it to be tuned. So I can just adjust the tunings however I want them to be. So pretty in depth there. And if I want to just take a few keys and make them a little off or something like that to give the piano some character, that's something that I can do as well. So it has some upright pianos here. So I can go through these and but these are in the Supernatural engine, which is why it has an S in there. So if I come into the tone designer, I can go into the piano tone designer and hit enter, and I'm going to get, you know, various different parameters and stuff that I can adjust there. I can do my individual voicing and stuff with the Supernatural one as well. But then I have some different things like effects and modulation and stuff. And the well, let me go back in there real quickly. Tone designer. I got some different effects that I can apply to the Supernatural sounds that I can't actually do with the piano sound engine. So that's an auto wah. That I can add to that piano there. So anyway, not that I would ever do that in real life, but then, you know, you just have a whole bunch of then Supernatural pianos and stuff as well. And you got your EPs, the old RD-2000 sound or 1000 sound. And so just a variety of sounds and stuff. Your clavinets. And then you can add different effects to them. So you got some great sounds in here. Now, as far as the sounds are concerned, so I like the piano. The piano sounds are I find the piano sounds to be decent. But they don't really wow me in any kind of way. So the pianos, they don't really wow me, but they will definitely get me through a gig, get me through any kind of a live playing scenario. But I don't, I only use them live. I never use them in the studio. I'm using VSTs in the studio, or I'm using something out of my Nord. And so those are pianos, the uprights. The ones in my Nord are so good, I never even use these. If I have any kind of a song that needs a upright piano, I don't use the upright pianos in here. I do like the EPs. Really like the EPs, but I don't like them as much as the Chord Chronos. So normally if I'm using an electric piano, I'm going to be using the Chord Chronos. And the clavinets, they're okay. The organs, don't like the organs. I mean, they're okay. I mean, so, but yeah, it's, I happen to prefer the Nord organs more than I like these organs here. And as far as like a lot of the other sounds, let me see, let's get out of here. Let's go to, okay. bass. Let's see here. Um, I mean, all this stuff is usable. It's all usable, but I did not buy this keyboard for its sounds. I think that these sounds, most of these sounds, I mean, there are some good ones in here. So there are some good ones in here, and some, some pretty fun things, whatever. But I think the sounds are just they're fairly mediocre in my opinion. Nothing really stands out, nothing really shines. I think if this keyboard was coming out 10 years ago, I think that it would have been, amazing, or even 12 years ago or 15 years ago. Now you're talking about something that's, the top of the class, because I think the sounds that are in this board, they are like as good as the old Roland Phantom, pretty good like that. As good as maybe like the Motif Classic that was, that Yamaha makes. I think it's kind of in that like the Triton range, by the Triton. But those keyboards are now pretty old. And so the fact that Roland has come out with a keyboard in 2000, I believe it launched in 2017 or 16, maybe 17, come out with a keyboard, it has these sounds in it. I mean, a lot of them just sound, like your regular PCM sounds. They sound a little dated, in my opinion. Now the pianos, the acoustic pianos, decent, definitely usable, especially in a live scenario. And the EPs are usable in any kind of scenario, I think. But outside of the pianos and the electric pianos and the acoustic pianos, everything else, to me, in my opinion here, I mean, it sounds pretty good. I wouldn't rate this up here with my Yamaha Montage, the strings in the Montage. I think it doesn't. They're decent and usable, but they're not as good as the Montage to me. So most of the sounds here are pretty mediocre, and there's no synth here. You find the synth in the other section, and if it goes to, now listen to this brass, I mean, it sounds okay. Definitely usable, but nothing here that's really, that's just a trumpet. But sounds are just so personal. So that's French horn. I mean, it just all sounds like the early 90s, or maybe not the early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. That's what these sounds, these. That's pretty good because that sounds like a vintage flute. But a regular flute. Nothing really wowing me about the sounds themselves. But again, I didn't really buy this keyboard specifically for its sounds. I really bought it for its integration. I wanted something that I could control all of my gear. I can control my other keyboards and stuff like that. I could control, VSTs, and the integration and stuff would be really good. And that's where this keyboard really shines. I like the fact that it's an audio interface, and so I don't need to bring an audio interface with me when I have my laptop and stuff like that hooked up. I can just hook this up and we're ready to go. Plug my laptop into this and I'm good to go. And I like the fact that it has the balanced XLR jacks and stuff on the back. So I don't need a direct box in a lot of cases. Now I know, there's always workarounds, and people say, well, that's not really a big deal. The fact that they're balanced and you have XLRs and all this kind of stuff, not really a big deal. When you're playing in a casino or you're playing in a club or anything like that, you can, even if you don't have a direct box, you can just ask the sound man, they'll give you a direct box. But I don't just play in those kind of arenas. I also play in church. And oftentimes where you're playing in church, just that culture, you'll have somebody who's a volunteer on the sound system. And oftentimes they don't know anything about sound reinforcement. They don't know anything about sound at all, really. They know how to turn the sound system on. They know how to turn it off. And they know how to, move this, this faders up and down to turn people, up and down. And that's the extent of their knowledge when it comes to sound. If you ask them for a direct box, they would know what it was. I've actually literally gone to churches and I'm going to set up my keyboard, and they have the keyboard on one side of the room and the keyboard amplifier on the other side of the room. And they say, oh yeah, we just run long cables from this side all the way over to there. A lot of stuff like that happens in the church, in the church world. So, or you'll get someplace, and because you don't just necessarily play at your church. In the African American denominations, oftentimes as a musician, you're not just playing in your church, but you'll play in somebody else's church, and your church will be a guest church in their church. And you literally may have 10 minutes to set up before a service begins, or 15 minutes to get everything set up and to get playing. And in those kind of scenarios, not having to connect extra audio interfaces, connect extra direct boxes and stuff like that, it really saves you time and gets you up and running. And this shines in that department. Another reason why I bought this keyboard is for the key bed itself. It is the most realistic key bed that I own. In other words, it feels most like a piano, having the wood on the side of the keys. You can actually feel it when you're playing and sliding around, doing different things. You can feel that wood. It's a joy to play. Truly is a joy to play. Very responsive. And when I hook this up to my my pianos with my VSTs, or I hook it up to my my Nord Stage 3, it just makes those pianos just really sing. Now, I did want to get a keyboard that had, a lot of sounds in it, just so I wouldn't be, necessarily stuck. If this was the only keyboard I had on stage and didn't have other stuff, then I would have, other sounds and stuff to choose from. So I do like the fact that it does have 1,100 and some odd sounds, 1,113 sounds or something like that. in this board. I do like that. I like all of the real-time knob adjustments and stuff that you can do, the encoders. I love the LED readouts and stuff on here. I like the fact that it does, audio and MIDI via USB. That's something that the Nord Stage 3 does not do. It only transmits MIDI via USB. I'm not sure why at that price point, why it doesn't work as an audio interface. I was talking to another young man who also plays in church, and he purchased the Nord, but he's going to send the Nord back. And one of his main issues was it wasn't an audio interface, and so he didn't really like the way it integrated with his VSTs and stuff like that. With this, you get absolutely great integration, and I believe this is 46 pounds. So it's lighter than my 53-pound Core Chronos. It's a 46 or 47, but it's lighter than my Core Chronos. But not just that it's lighter, but width wise is not as wide, so it's a little easier to handle. Even though it's still fairly, it's got some definite weight to it, but it's not like the 60 some odd pounds that the Montage 8 is and whatnot. So it's fairly light for what it is. It has a great build quality, great feel, great everything. And with the integration with the zones and stuff like this, and the USB integration that you have here, so that you can play your VSTs and stuff like that, it really can make this instrument it can really extend this instrument's life. The sounds to me are pretty mediocre. Now I'm splitting hairs here, because I believe that whether you get a Roland or whether you get a Korg or whether you get a Nord or whether you get whatever you get, you can make great music using any instrument, technically speaking. But just the tonal quality of the Roland to me is a step behind some of the competitors. I think that the Korg pianos are better. The Nord pianos are better. The Yamaha pianos are better. But this integration and stuff this is what I really love, and the simplicity and how easy it is to use, and it's a joy to play this live. And so workflow for me has become so very important. I've got great sounds everywhere. There are, if I want a great EP sound, I can pull this up here. If I want a great acoustic piano sound, I can pull up something else or use some VSTs. If I want great synth sounds, I can pull up something, so I've got sounds all over the place. Tens of thousands of sounds I have between my studio and my hardware and stuff like that. But workflow has become really important to me, and the workflow in this is just absolutely amazing. And the feel of the keys for playing piano stuff is just wonderful. And also, if I want to connect my Arturia Keylab 49 to this, I can. I just plug it right into the USB, and it powers it, lights up. Just plug in the MIDI, and I can play different sounds and stuff using a double keyboard setup. And that's something else you can't do on the Nord Stage 3. Another reason why I keep bringing up the Nord Stage 3, because the Nord Stage 3 is an actual stage piano. So it's supposed to be comparable to this keyboard here. So the Nord Stage 3 doesn't have that kind of it doesn't have this kind of integration, MIDI integration. You can't do this. Doesn't have USB. Doesn't have an audio interface, and you don't have your different, you have to, it's a little harder to turn up your various layers and stuff like that, and you can't just use your sliders and stuff. It's the integration MIDI wise is not as good as the integration that this has. And so I really do love this keyboard for what it for what it does. And something you also want to consider as far as this keyboard is concerned, this keyboard came out before Roland launched their ZenCore system. So the ZenCore system is a cross-platform system, so you can just take sounds out of one unit and put them in another unit and whatnot, and share sounds with friends and so on and so forth. That's what they're really working on. They have the Roland Cloud and whatnot. This does not integrate with that. So this is not a ZenCore sound system. It doesn't have the ZenCore system in it. And even though it is Roland's flagship stage piano, this is not Zen Core. So if you're looking for a whole lot of updates and stuff like that to come to this board, you're probably not really going to get them. I was in a meeting with, or online with Ed Diaz from Roland, and I specifically asked the question in that meeting if there was any way was the Zen Core system coming to the RD-2000 in some sort of an update, and they said no. The technology is not really compatible, so they can't make this Zen Core through an update. So when you buy this, you're not buying Roland's latest and greatest sound technology when you buy the RD-2000. So that is something to consider before you buy it. There's probably not going to be a whole lot more updates and stuff coming forward. Yes, they have the Axial website and have some sounds and stuff that you can download, but it's only a few sound packs that you can really get for the RD-2000. So again, when I purchased this, I didn't purchase it for the sounds. When I heard it, I knew the sounds were, somewhat mediocre, but I use this to control my other gear and as a centerpiece to control my other gear and VSTs, whether to be live or in the studio. And with the key bed, this keyboard really shines. And of course, yes, I still do use the sounds in it. But normally when I'm using the sounds in here, I'm using acoustic piano or electric piano and pads, maybe some strings, and I'm doing it live, and that's it. So those are my thoughts on this keyboard. I do love the keyboard. The only thing that I think it really falls short is the sounds are a bit dated, but sounds are a matter of personal taste. You may really like the sound. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for my review of this board, my 1-year comprehensive review. Let me know what you think of this keyboard in the comments below. And with that, I will see you guys on the next video.